What's good everyone? Welcome to my new special video, which is conspiracy theories that might actually be true, part 4. Stay tuned for these upcoming clips cause I guarantee that you will get shocked, mindfucked, and the most important thing, which is to learn as well. But first, let me introduce myself. What's good everyone? It's your boy Trizzy, and welcome to Trizzy TikTok. What the hell is this, man? Hey bro, can someone explain this to me? Like, how is this happening in broad daylight?
It doesn't just appear.
So we'll have to come around. Do you see it?
No.
It's not that.
There it is.
Where?
Look.
Oh, let this guy go.
Did you not just see that?
No, are you filming?
Look
so
up,
I
look
can
up,
see?
look up.
Where am I looking?
Look! There's a floating tree.
Ain't gonna lie, using this app is all fun and games until you discover these kinds of things.
Here are the most bizarre mysteries and crimes that were solved by using Google Earth. In 2019, a man named Barry Fay was playing around on Google Earth when he saw a strange figure in a large pond. When police searched the pond, they discovered a submerged car containing the skeletal remains of William Malt, who had disappeared without a trace after leaving a nightclub 22 years prior. A Google Street View driver was horrified when a member of a gang pointed a shotgun at him. When this was spotted on Google Street View later that year, police went to the home and what they found inside was even more horrific. They discovered the dead body of a 1-year-old baby girl in a closet. A 14-year-old boy was riding his bike one day when suddenly 2 men ambushed him and stole his bike, phone, and cash. But thankfully, 6 months later, the thieves were identified in this Google Street View photo, which was taken literal moments before the attack took place.
To be honest, I thought it's gonna turn into a Sharingan, bro.
So someone sent me a video of Katy Perry's eyes supposedly shape-shifting live on TV. Now this just could have been a glitch, but some people believe that this might be proof that shape-shifting reptiles exist. You watch the video and let me know what you think.
All I know is the time will come where our eyes will be opened. Kinda scary, but still interesting though.
All of our lives might be getting ready to change very, very soon. Some of you may have already noticed this, but from the middle of last year up until now, there has been a ridiculous amount of UFO sightings. And not just UFOs, in some videos, they claim to have caught footage of actual aliens, and this was released this year. Now, typically, I would just ignore stuff like this because I would just assume that it was either some sort of hoax or just CGI effects. But this time is different because the government says that June 1st, it will release an official report of everything that it knows about UFOs. And according to ex-officials, this is supposed to be a very big report. And this news reporter did a news report on the UFO situation, and I want you to listen to what he says is supposed to be on this report.
This report will include discussions about incidents and sightings that cannot be explained with present-level human technology.
Man, like and save this video and come back June 1st so we can discuss what they released.
This is freaking the shit out of me, bro. And I hope in the Lord's name that this never happened.
So a lot of you all have been wanting me to go over Project Bluebeam recently. But quickly, I want to mention that Project Bluebeam is a very wild theory and it can get a little scary, so I'm just giving you a small warning. In short, Project Bluebeam is a theory that there is a plan to combine every single country in this world into one government and then have everybody on Earth follow this one government and worship a false god created by this one government. The theory states that they plan to do this by first faking an alien invasion or some sort of catastrophic event. Then once people are terrified and panicking, they will use advanced holograms to bring in a false god to save us from that situation. It will then be mandatory for people to follow this false god, and if you refuse, you will probably be persecuted or even worse off. Now, as crazy as this theory sounds, it's actually some very scary coincidences between the theory and what's happening in our real world today. If you want me to go over that, like for part 2.
Why, man? Why do you have to do this, man?
Here is part 2 of the blue beam theory. If you have not yet seen part 1, I recommend that you go back and watch it. Also want to mention that some videos that might go missing on my page are just under review, but I will be putting those on YouTube, so feel free to subscribe. According to the blue beam theory, there are 4 stages for this plan. Phase 1 is the government using technology that we don't know about to cause earthquakes, unveiling false religious artifacts. These artifacts would then be used as evidence against that same religion in an attempt to make people lose faith in it. Some people believe that this happened back in 2012 when there was about 20 earthquakes in a span of 2 days with no scientific explanation. These same quakes supposedly revealed the day of Jesus' crucifixion. Phase 2 states that the government will use advanced holograms in order to trick people into believing that there's an alien invasion or some sort of catastrophic event. Now this step has some very strange coincidences and evidence behind it, but I would need a whole new video to go over that, so like for a part.
Guys, did you know that the man who saw this was silenced by the government? If you haven't watched the first part yet, go check the upper right corner for the video. There is a related story about this.
The most mythical place is a place called Agartha. It's a city that supposedly resides in the Earth's core. So this also confirms that the Earth is hollow. And apparently there's tons of entrances all around the world. Theory goes there was once a man named William Emerson who sailed through an entrance to the Earth's interior at the North Pole. For 2 years he lived here, and it was said to be the original Garden of Eden. It's believed that this species came from another planet in our solar system. And after a time of living on the surface, they realized that the sun aged them prematurely, and that caused them to live underground. There's been lots of evidence of this inner civilization. It's believed that the pharaohs of Egypt even communicated with this underworld. Mathematicians have concluded that the Earth is hollow and it contained a central sun. The ESSA posted this picture with this gaping hole to where the poles should have been. Even the northern lights are speculated to be caused by this inner sun.
This keeps me up at night, bro, no cap. Cause it makes sense, bro. We can't even replicate what they did, so how the hell did they build it?
Why I'm starting to believe that ancient people had advanced technology. Let's take a look. Well, for once, they created architecture that still puzzles scientists to this day, such as the pyramids of Giza. All we have is theories, but we have no idea how they did it. Even with our modern tech, we don't know how to replicate what they did. Ancient people worked with difficult stones such as granite, one of the hardest materials on Earth. They created amazing architecture and design that almost looked 3D printed. They created huge bronze statues such as the Colossus of Rhodes, which is 108 feet. This site is known as Pumapunku in Bolivia. To this day, these stones puzzle scientists. These stones in Pumapunku in Bolivia are having archaeologists and scientists scratching their heads. They say that it's absolutely impossible creating these structures with hammer and chisel. The only way to make this is with power tools, advanced technology. So much for the ancient people being primitive. Maybe we're the primitive ones. They even have drill holes that don't look man-made, but made with some type of advanced power tool. Their structures have stood the test of time, while our newly built roads can't even last a few years. Now the question is, what happened to them?
All I gotta say is the people in the past is something else, bro. They are something else.
This might be one of the biggest cover-ups in history. From a young age, all of us are taught about ancient civilizations that used to roam the earth. But the way we are taught gives us a very primitive idea of these civilizations. Or at the very least, we're given the idea that we are far more advanced than any technology any civilization has ever had before us. Which is ironic when you consider that our buildings would be lucky to survive 300 years with proper maintenance, when buildings like the Colosseum in Italy and the pyramids of Giza in Egypt were built thousands of years ago and they're still standing. What's strange is that hieroglyphs have been discovered in Egypt that depict helicopters, planes, and in some other cases even UFOs. My theory is that some ancient civilizations, especially the ones in Egypt, were far more advanced than us and it's being covered up. To add to this theory, what if all the UFO sightings that we've been seeing have not been aliens, but they've been just us, human beings from different time periods? I got a lot of crazy evidence to back this up, so if you want a part 2, click the plus, like, and leave a comment.
This will give you a whole lot of what ifs.
The greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Are these fact or fiction? We may never know. It's been 50 years since Neil Armstrong allegedly landed on the moon. But my sources tell me the US government, eager to beat Russia in the space race, faked the lunar landing. People in 1969 could barely watch TV without a 5-foot antenna. You think they're landing on the moon? Doubtful. Was JFK killed by the CIA, the KGB, the Mafia? Could be all of the above. Or it could be none of the above. Did Jeffrey Epstein actually take his own life? Or was it the act of a few famous individuals he had compromising information on? Yes. Has the government suppressed information that reveals the Earth is actually a flat, infinite plane? Obviously not. Did the mysterious Malaysia Airlines flight just vanish into thin air? Or was it digitally hijacked by hackers who rerouted the plane to Antarctica? Your guess is as good as mine.
There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, cuh. Stay woke.
As many of you already know, the United States has an Invention Secrecy Act, basically saying that they can silence and restrict any invention that they deem to be sensitive or dangerous. But what's weird is that the US Navy patented anti-gravity machines last year openly. That's when everything clicked, and I thought of an incredibly wild theory. So do y'all remember last year when they built 5G towers everywhere, even though we were in a health crisis and that had nothing to do with that at the time? And then in this year's stimulus, the CIA and FBI had to declassify documents pertaining to UFOs, which was cool, but again, had nothing to do with the health crisis at hand. It just seems that the US in general has been very cooperative in confirming videos like this and releasing information pertaining to UFOs. My theory is that they are getting ready to reveal anti-gravity technology to us officially, and I believe the 5G towers were put up so that these things could be mass produced and used recreationally by normal people like me. Now, unfortunately, this could be used for a darker reason, but I ran out of time, so like for part 2.
Hey guys, lend your ears to this and listen carefully.
In 1997, a man who claimed to have worked at Area 51 called a radio station and said some very disturbing things. Now, these disturbing things are also very questionable. Honestly, he could have just been capping on a whole call, and usually radio show hosts would just dismiss it as a prank. However, the man did sound genuinely scared, and before he was able to finish, all the power in the radio station went out with no explanation. Check out the video and let me know what you think about it.
On this position really soon. You can't spend a lot of time on the phone, so give us something quick. Okay, what we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with.
Here's part 2 of the ex-Area 51 worker calling into the radio station. Warning, it is a little scary this time.
An earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now aren't. But they're not doing anything. They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the
This is a little random compared to the other clips, but just a little theory for you guys.
Have you heard of the Ice Age theory?
No.
What if I told you that Sid the Sloth is the ultimate hero of the whole movie?
How?
So remember when Manny's in the cave and he's showing how his family was killed by hunters? He was at a point in his life where he felt like he had no purpose and no friends and was really sad.
Dude, those hunters are messed up, man.
Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, we see Sid the Sloth, right? And he ruins the rhino's salad. And he gets the last dandelion.
Ah, the last dandelion.
And then the rhinos are running after Sid. And then you see Manny at the edge of this super high cliff. Then Sid runs into him. And he asks Manny for help.
Yeah, I remember that.
So this is where the theory comes in. There's a theory that the reason why Manny's at the edge of a high cliff is because he's actually about to jump off. Because he feels sad and he feels like he doesn't have a purpose. Until Sid runs into him and he finally has a friend again and a purpose.
Wait, I guess it is kind of weird that Manny was just standing by the cliff alone, not caring about anything, like he was just gonna jump off.
Dude, I really think that Sid saved Manny's life.
Sid is underrated, man.
Comment down your thoughts about this, cause for real, I'm out of words.
Alright, so here's the final part of the Inner Earth theory videos. I'm gonna put the rest of the evidence that I have in this one video. And just quickly, if you have not yet, if you could just like the video and then click the plus, I would really appreciate it. Now, before I get into the deep, scary stuff, I quickly want to go over seismograph reading. Based on what I understand, when an earthquake happens, it sends out different waves inside the earth that eventually will come back, and based on how fast or slow these waves are returning and the angle, it can determine the density that's inside the earth. However, this exact same science has been used very recently to discover mountains taller than Mount Everest inside the Earth, as well as structures near Earth's core. It's ironic because I got a few comments on my other videos talking about how seismograph readings will completely destroy this theory, when in fact these readings are actually revealing new things inside the Earth that they're comparing to the journey of the center of the Earth. And for those of you who may be Christian or wonder how I could be Christian and have this theory, in Philippians 2:10 it clearly says that at the name of Jesus every knee shall bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth. Now I'm about to get into some of the wild stuff. So a Viking named Eric the Red discovers Greenland back in 905 AD. By 1405, there was anywhere between 10 to 100,000 Vikings that lived on the shores of Greenland, until one day each and every one of them vanished, and to this day it is one of the biggest historical mysteries ever. The only clue we have is from the natives who lived in Greenland known as the Inuit. According to them, the Vikings were all led northward to a place that they called Land of Endless Summer. The Inuits claim this place is located in the womb of the earth, and they say that it's rich with vegetation and game. Now there are lots of stories from ancient civilizations and people from back in the day who claim to have gotten contacted from beings inside the earth, but none of them are as credible as Admiral Richard Byrd's story. To give you a very quick rundown, he was a naval officer and a polar explorer. I also want to mention that he was given a Medal of Honor, so you can consider him as being an honest man or being a man of integrity. Admiral Byrd led numerous expeditions to both poles and kept very good detail of everything that happened in the journal. Once he died, his personal journal was released, and it goes into detail about how he came in contact with a civilization from inner Earth. In the journal, he says that an aircraft that he could not identify took control of his plane and led him inside the Earth. What's even crazier than what he wrote in his journal is the fact that he got on live TV in 1954 and told the entire world that there is a land bigger than the US past the South Pole that needed to get discovered. For my last piece of evidence, I have a video from a Russian space station called Mir of them flying over one of our poles. Once I show you this video, just leave a comment on your final decision. Do you think this theory could be possible, or do you think it's absolute nonsense? But like a hole at the pole to me.
This is also a random one, guys, but just want to let you know how they regretted turning against God.
You ever wonder what the last words of Satanists are on their deathbeds? The man you see right here is Anton LaVey. He is the founder of the Church of Satan in America. And on his deathbed, he said something that was a little frightening. These are his last words. Oh my, what have I done? There's something very wrong, there's something very wrong, there's something very wrong.
And on his deathbed, he must have got some revelation or an angelic appearance or something. And he went into shock and he said, oh my, what have I done? He said, there's something very wrong.
This is another famous occultic Satanist from the early 1900s. He is known as the father of the New Age movement, and also the father of the sexual and culture counter-revolution in the 60s and 70s, and also the drug revolution. This man's name is Aleister Crowley. He's an occultist, a warlock. He's been in many cults, and he created his own cults as well. According to witnesses, before he died, he would pace around his room. He looked frightened and worried. And these were his last words before he died. I am perplexed, aka I am confused.